All right, hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Meal Prep Madness. Before Coach Ashley and I get started with some ways you can prep your way to perfection, just a couple items to take care of. We will hopefully have time for questions at the end of the presentation, and you can type those into the question box in the lower portion of your control panel. We will be posting a recording of the webinar online, but if you would like a copy of the presentation in PDF format, or if your question does not get answered today, please email our support inbox, which will be shown at the end as well. Okay, here is our agenda for the day. We will first discuss why you should be meal prepping and the benefits of taking advantage of freezer meals and planning ahead. Then we'll go into the logistics of planning and what supplies you need. Then we'll give you some real-life examples of how to prep and some other tips and tricks to think about. If you don't already follow us on social media, this whole month is focused on similar topics, and there have already been some great recipes and posts. So find us on our blog, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for some more great ideas. So I'll get us started today with the why. Why should you take that time to prep for your week? There are so many reasons to do this. Let's start with time management. We hear this every single day on coaching calls. I don't have time to make a healthy meal. And it is an actual barrier. You work until 5, you go pick up the kids or run errands, you get home and it's already 6 or after, and you have to get homework done or do the laundry or one of the 100 other things you've got going on. What if it was as easy as popping something in the microwave for a couple minutes or opening up the slow cooker you've had going all day long and you're done? That would be great, right? Well, that's what meal prepping does for you. Prepping meals ahead of time takes away that huge barrier of time. Taking time on the weekend or whatever day you have some extra time is going to save you hours throughout the week. That way you can get a healthy meal and still have time to do all of those other things that life demands of you. And when you don't have to worry about taking the time making food for yourself and your family, when you have that extra time to get things done around the house, how do you think your stress levels are going to react? Yes, your stress levels will go down. How great is that? If you've watched other webinars, you know how much stress can affect our body. It affects our immune system, our sleep, our digestive system, just to name a few things. If you can lower your stress, you will get sick less, you'll sleep better, you'll be in a better mood, and all of those things make your stress levels go down even further. It's a wonderful cycle to get into. And just eating healthier in general is a huge way to manage other stressors you may have. When we fill our bodies with good food, our sugar levels stay steady, we don't have the up and down energy and mood swings, helping us to better deal with stress that does come our way. Now, if those two great reasons aren't selling you on meal prepping yet, let's keep going. Meal prepping not only saves you time, but it also saves you money. Think about how much money you spend on a nice meal eating out. You can make the same thing at home in your slow cooker or on your stove for way less. And then you can eat it in your PJs. What's better than that? I know some of you are going to throw out the fast food cost savings. And yes, you may be able to get a $1 hamburger somewhere, but consider this. If you eat this type of food every day, you are more than likely going to pay a lot more later in health-related costs. So please consider this when you're thinking of your, quote, budget as well. There are more things to consider in the long term. Also, if you have a shopping list for the week and you aren't just wandering the aisles, grabbing this and that and not really knowing what you want, you're going to save money. And to go back to my reason number 1, time, you're going to save time if you know exactly what your path will be in and out of that dreaded grocery store. This is especially important if you're toting around a couple kids when minutes to meltdown matter. If you take some time and make a list that has only what you need for that week, you aren't going to be spending money on unnecessary items. A grocery list is a great way to help stay away from those snackies that seem to just jump into your cart when you aren't paying attention. If you make a goal to stick to your list, you can walk right on past that entire aisle and don't have to worry about those sneaky little snacks coming home with you. And we hear almost every day about how expensive it is to eat healthy. Again, we've already talked about this. But if you don't spend $3 on that bag of chips and the $5 for a great deal on a bulk of snack items, what are you going to do? You're going to save money. I guarantee it. You can also find recipes that contain foods that are in season, which makes them quite a bit cheaper. And when you do meal prepping, which we'll talk about here in a second, you can buy in bulk, which saves you money in the long run too. Along those same lines, when we don't plan ahead for what we're actually going to use for that week, we end up with a lot of food waste, right? Think about some of the food that you buy that sits on your shelf or in your fridge because you thought it might be something you might want to use in a meal later that week. Then it ends up going bad and you just have to dump it in the garbage. This not only wastes our money, it also has an impact on our environment. If you don't compost your food, which if you're not familiar with, please look into composting, but it goes right to the landfill, right? Most of us forget about it at that point, but it continues to have an effect. Food waste produces a large amount of methane, a powerful greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gases cause things like global warming and climate change. So anything we can do to play our part is helpful with that as well. So again, if you're planning ahead, if you're meal prepping and you actually use all of the food you have, you're preventing a bigger negative consequence than you may have thought. Think bigger picture with this stuff too. The last couple ways, and hopefully the ones that you care about the most that meal prep is helpful, is the role it plays in actually achieving those great health goals that you've got. When we talk about creating habits and breaking down barriers of being healthy, nothing beats planning ahead. It is such a mental game when it comes to eating healthy and choosing the options we know we should be. We've already talked about how it saves time and money, but it also saves you from having to choose that unhealthy option. It takes away that temptation. When you plan your meals in advance, you know exactly what you're going to be putting in your body, and you get to choose that to be a healthy option. You can and you should pre-portion your meals as well, so you won't be tempted to go back for seconds because that's all you have. Simple. You remove that emotional aspect of should I or shouldn't I go back. You can't. Physically impossible because you don't have more food to eat. It also helps you stay on track and creates accountability for those goals. If you know that you have that food prepped and waiting in your fridge, it's like that little voice saying, don't stop and get something. I'm right here waiting for you. You don't want that food to go to waste, right? Or your money for that matter, because that's what food waste is. It's money waste as well. So chances are you're going to make that right decision. And once you start making those good decisions, your body will start to crave those bad foods less and less, things like sugar. This is something that people don't really believe when our coaches say it, but we promise it is true. As you continue to prep more and more meals, the habit starts to get created, and before you know it, it will be rare that you don't know what you're going to be eating for that week, which is the ultimate goal. So on that side of things, take some time to think about what your goal is for meal prepping. Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to improve your biometrics? Do you want to save time? Do you want to save money? Do you want to save your sanity? Do you want to have a healthier family? There is no wrong answer, but you do need to find that spark that's going to motivate you to get started, because it is, when you start a new habit, it's different. We have to change our mindset, and that's what this is doing. And so once you find that motivation, once you find that spark, then you need a plan. First is deciding how much you want to do. If you've never done this before, start simple. Prep one meal or a couple breakfasts, whatever is not overwhelming. Ashley's going to touch on this more here in a second, but just pick a couple easy recipes until you get the hang of it. Next is finding what day you will plan to shop and prep, and that doesn't have to necessarily be the same day. Most people choose a weekend or Sundays, but it's really any bank of time that you know you'll have pretty consistently. And depending on how many meals you're doing, just be sure you have enough time. If you're planning on quite a few meals, give yourself a couple hours. If it's just a quick smoothie for that week, it might only be 30 minutes or so. But overestimate in this department, that's always going to be safe for you as far as time management. And then see if anyone wants to join. Have a prep party where everyone brings the foods they want to prep and make it a social thing. And that can help with support too. There are even Facebook groups dedicated to this sort of thing. So think outside the box for that support as well to keep you on track. Again, just be sure you've got a plan in place and you'll set yourself up for success. Now I'll let Ashley chat about a few more things like supplies and next steps.
Okay, so it's helpful to look at meal prep as two prepping scenarios. One day to plan your meals out and grocery shop, and another day to actually cook the meals and portion them out. As Shelby mentioned, start simple. It's okay to start with prepping just one meal, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Think about which meals you want to see the most improvement with or would help you achieve your goals. Is it hard for you to eat breakfast because you're always running late? Do you make an unhealthy choice more at dinner because you're tired from the day? Once you've determined the types of meals you will be prepping, you can pick out your recipes. Again, start simple. This isn't a time to try something new. Stick to things you like and enjoy to start. The idea is to help you build the habit of meal prepping. Google and Pinterest are two great resources to find recipes, but be specific about what you're searching for so you avoid information overload. Once you do find one or two recipes you'd like, stop looking. Go with those, try them out, and if they don't work, you can look to one or two later on down the road. From there, you can figure out what additional ingredients you'll need from your grocery store trip and also supplies. As far as supplies go, not all recipes require special gadgets. However, things like a spiralizer, a mandolin slicer, or a crock pot are going to be helpful in moving things along. In addition to kitchen appliances and utensils, you do want to make sure you have enough containers to portion everything out. The great news is that most plastic and glass storage containers include the size right on them, so you don't have to measure anything. For example, there's a container out there that's just 4 ounces, and it's a miniature round container, which works great to prep and portion out protein snacks like cottage cheese or a large container of plain Greek yogurt. You portion it right into the container and it's already measured for you. On your actual prep day, ideally, you will want to set aside 2 to 3 hours to prep your meals. I like to try and map out which recipes I'm making so that I can maximize my time spent. For example, if I plan to make a crock pot meal that takes a few hours before it's done, I will start my meal prep with that. That way, the meal can be cooking as I'm prepping other things for the week. It's also helpful to have your kitchen utensils and containers actually laid out for you. Another tip to help the actual prep day is to pre-cut some of your veggies the night before. We're going to look at a chicken fajita recipe here in a few slides, and I personally make that one for myself. I like to cut up the onions and the peppers the night before. That way the next day when I go to prep it, I just throw it all in the baking dish and it's ready to go. It's not a huge time saver, but every little bit can help. And if you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes extra the night before, that just saves on the next day. Duplicating efforts is also helpful. For example, make your protein something basic so it can be used in a variety of ways in different recipes or different meals. You can also make things like burgers, meatballs, taco meat to freeze for a later date.
And yes, we did need this slide. Hopefully it was helpful to everybody.
Okay, let's go into the good stuff. Here are some of our favorite recipes that we like to use on a regular basis. We're going to give you a couple for each meal, a couple for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So starting with breakfast, a very popular, easy to make, prepped ahead of time breakfast would be egg muffins. You'll see the ingredient list here for you if you'd like to make it at home. Basically what you're going to do is scramble a dozen eggs. If you like to throw in a little bit of milk, that's optional to do. And then spray your muffin tin really well. You can use coconut oil or olive oil to line those. You could use muffin liners if you'd like as well. You just want to make sure that that's coated so that the egg mixture doesn't stick to it. And then you'll take your scrambled egg mixture, pour it into the individual tins. From there, you can customize it how you'd like. If you want to add in broccoli, mushrooms, red peppers, onions, tomatoes, you can do so and just make a veggie omelet. You could add a protein in there, such as Canadian bacon or ham, a little bit of cheese, whether it's cheddar cheese, feta cheese, etc. So it's really customizable how you want. You could do half veggie, half meat and veggie. Bake that in the oven for about 25 minutes at 350, and you have almost a week's worth of breakfast. It heats up in about 25 seconds.
Perfect. All right, another quick and easy breakfast or snack idea is smoothies. This is as simple as it gets. I put a couple recipes up here to try, but there are so many more in line depending on what your preferences are. And as you can see, depending on how many of each fruit or veggie or whatever it is that you buy, you can reuse those in many different recipes. Fruits especially don't have a long shelf life, which is part of our food waste problem, right? So freezing them is the perfect way to prevent that food waste. These are 1 serving sizes, so get as many bags as you need and separate them out, just like what it looks like in the picture here. You can use frozen fruit as well. It doesn't have to be fresh. But anyways, add everything to the freezer bag, remove that air, that's an important part, and just throw it in there. And then when you're ready to make it, take it out of the freezer. There's no need to thaw it, and throw in 3/4 a cup of any milk of your choice. You can use water too, and you're all set to go. Another easy option here.
Along those lines, in terms of milk, that gives you a little bit of protein. If you wanted to take half of the fruit out of the smoothie mixture, you can at the time of making it also throw in a scoop of low sugar protein powder, whether it be vanilla or chocolate. You can also throw in a couple scoops of plain Greek yogurt. So it just gives you a little bit more protein in there, which will help to fill you up and keep you fuller longer.
Yeah, and that just speaks to how many different options there are when it comes to really all of these recipes. You can change it as you see fit, but there's so many options that you can tailor to yourself. It's just a matter of trial and error, seeing what you like.
Okay, next up is lunch. You may have seen these before. They've become pretty popular, these mason jar salads. So listed above, we're going to talk through it, but really the only important thing to keep in mind when preparing this for yourself is the layering process. And again, we'll go through that, but it's really customizable to what you'd like. There is a variety of different ideas online on the web if you're interested in checking them out. These are something that lasts about a week in your refrigerator, so you can prep them for, again, lunch or your dinner for 5 or 6 days of the week. So you're going to want to start out your bottom layer being that liquid, so your favorite dressing. We would recommend a homemade dressing with an olive oil base to it. That's going to be the most ideal, but you'll put your favorite dressing on the bottom. Layer number 2 is going to be some of your vegetables. It may be some vegetables that you don't mind softening either with some of that liquid. Tomatoes, cucumbers, red onion, asparagus, again, whatever you'd like. Layer number 3, a little bit more veggie there if you'd like. Beans, lentils, this is an option to include. Layer number 4 would be kind of your protein layer there. So hard-boiled eggs, quinoa, some nuts, cooked chicken, some cheese. And then number 5, your greens, whether it be romaine, spinach, arugula, kale, whatever your preference is. The other nice thing with these jars is there are plastic lids available out there that you can utilize, and they clean up really nice, and they store well so that it keeps it nice and tight for the week.
And these look pretty too. That's what I like about the mason jar salads. All right, another easy lunch or supper option for those of us still battling winter here in the Midwest is chili. I just did this weekend actually, so it's really simple. You're just gonna find your favorite healthy chili recipe on Sunday morning or whenever you're prepping. Prepare it like you normally would, throw it into that slow cooker just like any other time you're making it. Then move on with your day or do your other prepping if you've got something else to do. When it's done cooking, just transfer it to those freezer bags or glass containers if you're eating it that week. Just keep the toppings separate. We don't want to add those in too early. Portion these out too. Again, we talked about that. So you know exactly how much you've got so you won't undereat or overeat for that meal. Then depending on what you're doing, stick it in the fridge or the freezer. A label like this is really great because it tells you everything you need to know. If you want to throw it in the slow cooker again after you freeze it, or again, you can throw it in the microwave or however you want to do it. Just having those things labeled and the date too is important because we don't want to forget those things in the freezer, right? So always keep that in mind as well with all of these things. You got to remind yourself that you made it too.
And you'll see from that example, there's 2 different ways to meal prep with that particular recipe. You could prep just the frozen packets for a day where you're just putting in all the ingredients in Ziploc bags and making maybe 3 or 4 of those to freeze for a later time. Or you could actually have the chili going all day, and then when that's done, portion it out for the week, or portion some out, have half of it, and freeze the other half already portioned in individual containers. Our dinner recipe, they're similar in that they both contain chicken. The first one is a crock pot chicken taco. This is one of my go-tos. Basically, it's going to be a pound or two of chicken breast that you're going to lay in the bottom of the crock pot, 1 packet of taco seasoning. If you're worried about sodium with that, there's a lot of recipes online to be able to make your own. I know that they do have different versions that have less sodium in there. And then 1 jar of salsa. And you're going to cook that for about 6 hours on high, and you have some really nice, moist, shredded chicken with a great flavor to it that you can use for taco boats, burrito bowls, lettuce, taco salad. Really, the application of it can go in many different ways. This is the meat you could add to your potential mason jar salad if you wanted for the week and have a taco salad. Chicken fajitas, similar. This application is in the oven. So you're cutting up your chicken breast, your peppers, your onions, and putting those all in a glass baking dish with some fajita seasoning. You could probably use a taco seasoning as well, or your own mixture of what you want. Looks like in this particular recipe, they use their own seasoning mixture, and then you'll bake that for about 45 minutes in the oven. Again, same thing, taco salads, you could eat that as a standalone to just have a protein and a veggie. If you didn't want the protein in there, you could just roast the veggies that way with a little bit of olive oil and some seasoning. But it's a really easy, simple thing to prep ahead of time even, to cut up maybe on a Sunday or the night before and just have ready to go to put in the oven the next day. Okay. So as you can see, there's many benefits to meal prep. It's not just for weight loss. Time, stress, money, taking a little extra time 1 day a week truly does save you more time in the long run, and it helps make you better choices and makes your week easier. So as we mentioned, start simple. It can seem overwhelming. There's a lot of great recipes on here. You might say, I want to make this, this, and this week. Start simple. Pick one meal, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, like I mentioned, and then 1 to 2 recipes from that meal and go from there. Even if it's just, I want to try to prep my protein snacks for the day, my snack each week. And then the other thing is talk with your health coach. So we love talking about this stuff because it's something we're also doing in our own lives. So we can help you to determine what meal might be the best for you to prep, and then from there give you some direction as to some ideas regarding recipes that you may enjoy.
Awesome. All right. So that is what we've got for today, everybody. This is what we've got coming up. Next month is well-rounded workouts, getting the most out of your exercise routine. And then in May, we'll do fresh finds, incorporating fruits and veggies every day. So here is how you contact us. We talked about this a little earlier, following us for those great recipes that we've already shared for this month on Twitter, Facebook, our blog. And again, note, we do have a new blog address. It's different. I shared it last month as well. So it's healthcheck360.com/blog now. We are on Instagram, and that blog is where you're going to watch our past webinars, and we will put this recording up. And then again, if you've got questions, we've got our phone number and email, so go ahead and contact us with anything. And now we will see if we've got any questions.